Hi, it's Kat. So in this video, I want to talk to you guys about good updated resources where you can find information on EQ2 aside from my videos, what are the best websites, and some of the add-ons that are available to you to play the game. Okay, so the first resource I want to cover is the official EQ2 website. And we'll start off with the official stuff, things that are connected to Daybreak and to our devs, and then as we move further along, I will talk about player-made sites and stuff that are produced solely by EQ2 players. So with the website here is on the homepage, you are going to find updates. So any big event coming in the world, and that can just be stuff like XP bonuses or sales on the marketplace, anything like that will be under community news. And they don't come out all the time, maybe one or two a month, but they're usually something that you want to be aware of, something that's up and coming. And it's usually going to help out just with your general awareness and occasionally with your gameplay, because you might end up getting some XP bonuses or status bonuses that can then help you get stuff in game. But what we really want to talk about here is the forums. So again, this is the official website, but a lot of what gets posted on the actual forums is player comments. Take everything that you see on here that is from an individual player with a grain of salt, okay? Especially if it's someone that you're not familiar with. A lot of times there'll be good information on the forums, but just as often there's bad information on the forums. It's a lot of opinions and not a lot of facts or people backing stuff up. So I like to read through them, keep up on them, and if there's something that sounds like it might be helpful, might be correct, I always like to double check. So that is what I recommend you guys doing too. But something that generally is pretty solid and pretty factual is to start off is your game update notes. So you'll see this link here, and this gets updated, whenever we get those downtimes each week where they update stuff, where they reset everything, is you're going to get a list of things that the devs have changed. Okay, so they've updated stuff, they've changed stuff, they've fixed problems. This is where you go for that information. And this is also where they tell you, we're going to make these changes to this quest, or we're going to make these changes to this procedure or this mechanic. So if you log in and you're blindsided, like when did this change, chances are it was mentioned at some point in the update notes and that you just didn't read them and didn't think about it until it actually happened to you in game. We also have here like official news and announcements, and most of the time that has to do with when server downtime is going to be, and I think we all know that it's usually Tuesday mornings, but sometimes it does get moved for different reasons. And of course we have the dev tracker, which does bring to attention like every post that the devs have made, and that's not necessarily anything that has to do with mechanics. It's just any comment they make for any reason. So you might have to weed through that for any important updates if you want to do that. And of course down here we have player support. So this is where people have questions, generally about like opening the game or problems with the actual game itself. We have tips, tricks, and facts. General gameplay discussion. Like I said, just take this all with a grain of salt. It's a lot of opinions, and it's a lot of the same people commenting all the time, so it's a little bit of an echo chamber. Further down we have in testing, so if there's any upcoming holidays or upcoming XPACs and they're doing testing, if you want to get like a sneak peek of what's happening or what certain procedures are going to be for new and upcoming PQs, this is where you go and kind of try to read up on them. You might have to dig through a lot of the forums and a lot of the posts, but you can generally get a pretty good idea of what new quests or new PQs are and what the procedures are going to be to do them in testing. And of course you can look at specific classes. I think down here though, what can really be helpful is, especially if you're looking for a guild, if you're a new player and you're thinking, okay, I want to find a good guild, but when I pull up the guild page, they don't really say a whole lot because they only give us such a tiny little space to write stuff for those, is that this is a chance on this guild recruitment page for guilds to really kind of write something a little bit longer, and where they can really kind of let you know what their personality is and what they're looking for and the type of players they're hoping to attract. And they'll also usually mention like play times when they're on, and if they're a raid guild, they'll mention like specifically what classes they're looking for. So that can be really helpful with guild recruitments, and also the guide event tab too. So in EQ2, we have this really, really awesome feature where we have actual players, people that play this game, that love this game, that will volunteer their time to offer up special event quest. So it's not an NPC that gives it to you, an actual person has to give you this quest. And usually there's a little story that goes along with it, and you interact with them and the other people getting the quest. And for some people, you might just be lucky and happen to be on because they will announce it in chat. But if there's something that you're hoping to see or that you would like to do, check out this guide event tab because they will tell you in advance when guides are planning to be online and offer out quests. And they won't necessarily give you the specific quest that they're doing, but they will give you some hints about what it is. And if you've done it before, you might recognize some of the quests that they're giving out. Some of them do have really cool little cute like either decorative house item rewards or illusions, things like that. Appearance gear for some of them, I think, too. Okay, so this is like our official EQ2 forums and website. You know that EQ2 has its own Discord channel as well, and the devs actually spent quite a bit of time on it. So it's not the official EQ2 site, right? But it is affiliated with the devs. A lot of them do use it. So if you actually wanted to get in touch with the dev, this would probably be the easiest and the fastest way to do so, would be if you went to their EQ2 channel. It's another way to get in touch with other players and to have discussions. This though is in real time, so you can talk back and forth. You don't have to buy anything. You don't even need to really sign up for anything. You can just log on. And I'm going to include the link to the EQ2 channel below. It's also something that, I use to keep track of things, but mostly I use it for when the servers go down. So, you're playing in a group or you're talking to friends and you get logged off and you can't get back in, or you're trying to get logged on and you can't, and you're wondering, is it, my issue? Is something wrong with my game, my computer, or is this a Daybreak issue? Is this something wrong with the servers? Well, if you log onto the Discord channel and there's tons of chatter about Daybreak not feeding their hamsters, then yeah, servers are down. Now, of course, if I'm going to do a video talking about all the resources available to you guys, I have to talk about the wiki, right? I have to talk about the EQ2 wiki because this is such a huge source of information for all us EQ2 players, that every time we get stuck, every time we get stumped with a quest of where do I go, where do I find this, what's next, oh, where's my next quest, the answer is always check the wiki. Okay, 90%, in my unofficial percentage here, but I'd say, probably about 90% of the questions you see get asked in Gen Chat on your average day in EQ2. 90% can probably be answered, just by going to the wiki. It's anytime you have this, where do I go? What's next? What did I miss on this quest? Well, have you checked the wiki? Because that always gives you the answer. It's step by step, from what NPC to start with, what location to go, what to click, what waypoint you have to travel to find this person or to find this item that you're looking for. What strategy do you have to use to defeat this boss? What type of equipment or what gear, what reward are you going to get? All those things are always answered by going to the wiki. Okay, and more than that, you can actually look up explanations on different features in the game. So they're not always perfect. They're not always worded in the most clear and easy to read manner because this is all player written. This is all done by EQ2 players. There's nothing official about this. We just have to rely on people that, love this game and put in the time and the effort to put this down for us. But usually it's pretty accurate. And this is something that can generally be trusted. And usually, and if it's for whatever reason you find that it's not, you are capable of actually going in and changing it and correcting it so that it is right. Now, this is kept up to date, so you can find all the stuff from Chaos Descending in here. And if you're curious about strategies for raids or heroics, they don't usually show up too often on the wiki. Mostly you'll get the stuff for the solo dungeons, more so than the heroics. But still a great source of information. And very similarly, we have the other website that does the same thing where it gives us a step-by-step with a quest. But this is a bit older, is the ZAM website. So this was really great, and I actually did prefer this to the wiki up to a certain point. They stopped keeping it up quite as up to date a few years back, so ZAM is awesome for older content. For newer content, though, I would rely on the wiki for the most part. I think that for the most part, you guys are probably already pretty familiar with the wiki, with the EQ2 website, the official one, and probably even the ZAM website a lot of you guys have found already. But I don't think as many people are familiar with, say, like EQ2 Traders Corner or EQ2 Libraries or EQ2.u, Wired.com. And I think that's such a shame because some of these websites are really awesome and they give you guys so much fantastic information that really can make a difference in your gameplay. So I do want to dedicate some time talking about these guys. The first one here, EQ2 Traders Corner. So if you have any interest in trade skilling, if you like decorating, if you like the EQ2 fashions, if you like the holiday events, there are a lot of fantastic write-ups as well as pictures of a lot of these things on this website. So definitely check that out if those are things that you're interested in. EQ2 Libraries now. That is a lot more about the strategies for heroics. So if you're someone that wants to play heroics, you can come here and look at the strategies for different zones. It's up to date as far as Planes of Prophecy goes. So I can look up the solos versus heroics, I can look up duos, event heroics, I can look up the strategies for doing the different PQs. No Chaos Descending, but everything up through the last X pack is here. And they also give you guys some guides. So the Ascension System guide is outdated, don't go by that, but the guide on Infusion System is still fantastic, and even the stats breakdown that they give you. So a lot of times you guys look at all these different stats that we have in EQ2 and it can be a bit much, right? It can be a bit overwhelming. You know, what do all these different things mean, and what do I need to be concerned with? Now, this guide isn't perfect, okay? There's a couple things that aren't quite described as fully as they should be or as accurately, but this is a pretty good overview and is going to give you guys a really good idea of what all these different stats actually have to do with you and your tune. Right? And then lastly, I want to talk about, now this is EQ2U. They have changed the name of the website though, which is why I still call it like EQ2 Wire. You can Google either EQ2U or EQ2 Wired and it will take you here. So what you want to do though is you want to make sure that you go to the character search. It does have a lot of different tabs. A lot of people go to the forums here. But I think the most helpful thing that you can do here is use their search function. So you can look up characters, you can look up guilds, you can look up all sorts of things. But generally it's if you want to find a guild and you want to do a little research, you can do that. If you want to look at your guild and the achievements that you guys have done and what you still need to accomplish, the guild search is fantastic. But for character search, I think this is probably the single best thing that you can do to help your tune out, because it puts all this information in such an easy to access fashion for you guys, and you can really kind of study up on what you need to do, where you're falling behind, what you're doing good on, as well as look at other players to get ideas from. So what I want to do is I want to look up one of my tunes to show you guys what I'm talking about. So I will look up my Shadow Knight. Okay, so, and it will save searches for you too. So you can put in your character name, you can put in the server that you're on. Now, if you're trying to look up different players, like a lot of times what I'll do is I'll look up guildmates. So they want help with something, they want my advice on something. It's really hard for me to do that without knowing where they're at. So, I mean, I can give really general advice, and kind of hope that some of it applies to them. But if I want to tailor my help and really kind of be specific for them, I have to look up their tunes. So this lets me look up not only my own tunes, but it lets me look up other players as well. So if I wanted to look up my player, like you guys could all come and look up my tunes if you wanted to, is that I will hit search, and you know, there is no one else with this name on the server, so I get mine popped up immediately. But if you only put in like the first couple letters of the name, you might get like a long list, and then you go through and you pick which one you're looking for. And you can narrow it down too, like you only want to look at a certain class of a certain level, or a certain trade skill. You can do that too. But it pops up all the information on my tune here. So not only do I get, you know, my name, my guild, what level I am, my AAs, but it gives me my character page. So this is all the gear that my tune is currently wearing, and if I scroll over it, it gives me all the stats on that piece of gear. Okay, and it does that for all of them. So I can look at, in one easy screen, all the gear that I have. I can look at, it gives you these little icons. So this little hammer tells me that I've already reforged that item. If I get the little magnifying glass, you know, I can look for upgrades on it. This little like gem here means that this was made out of refined mats. Okay. The little beaker here shows that I've experimented on this item. So I can see all my mastercrafted gear that I've worked on, as well as things that I've gotten as drops in different zones or that I bought as upgrades. Okay, and I can also see if I've infused it, because it'll show me, and it'll show me how much I've infused it for. Okay, it shows me, you know, what food I'm eating, all that kind of stuff. And on this left hand side, and I can scroll down through this, is that it gives me all my stats. So if I were to look up, say, one of my guildmates, you know, I could look to see what their HP was. I could look to see what their potency was, what their resolve was, what their double cast was, and let them know, okay, hey, your HP is a little bit low. We need to work on getting that up, or your potency is a little low, or, you know, you don't have enough resolve to do the zone. That's probably why you're having trouble doing it. You know, let's work on that. But you can scroll down and you'll see most of the stuff is green. If it's red, it's because you're over the cap. Okay, so crit bonus, right? The crit bonus cap is 4,000. I'm at 4,200. But what this doesn't account for, though, is that some of my gear has crit bonus over cap. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing to be over cap on some of these. Same thing with fervor, right? Is that you get fervor over cap, so even if those are red, those are probably okay. But this lets you look, you know, very easily, very quickly at what your stats are, and of course you scroll down, it gives you more and more information. Now, this is all stuff you could see on your character page, but you'll notice is that you have a lot of tabs up here, and having all this information really easy to get to is fantastic, because it does have this tab for adornments. I don't think this has been updated in a long time, so I don't tend to look at it, but if I go to effects, right, it's going to give me two tabs then. So I can either look at the list of procs and effects, which is what it lands on, or I can actually look at my list of adornments. Now this is a very, very fast, very, very easy way to see where you're missing adornments. Okay, so if I scroll through here, you'll notice, you know, it lets me know when there is a blank spot that could or should have an adorn that is empty. Okay, So most of these are full. The ones that I'm missing are the black adornments, which are, you can only wear during raids, and if you're a raider, and I'm not, so of course those for me are going to be empty. But if I didn't have a white adornment in that spot, and again, if I scroll over it, it gives me the little explanation of what it is and what its stats are, where it fits on my gear. Um, is that it would say, empty white adorn slot or empty green adorn slot. So a lot of people that are coming back to the game or new to the game, dormants or something completely foreign to them, and they may not realize that they didn't put on all the adornments that they could. This is a real great place to go and look and go, oh, okay, yeah, I do need some more white adornments, and I need it to go on my bow, or I need it to go on my ring, or whatever it is. This is just a real fast, easy way to go and look for that. And you should have all these filled out. Like none of these should be empty except those black spots, if you're not a raider, because you do get those free adornments just for showing up in Maris Library if you have the X pack. So go get some more white adornments. Go get some more of those orange adornments. If you don't have the green, like buy some off the broker, get a guildie to make them for you, or go take your Tremis coins and it goes into the Maris Library and buy them from one of the merchants there. Because empty slots means you're just giving away what could be free stats for you guys. So absolutely go do that. But very helpful way, much easier than having to go down your character and like right click and look at what adorns on each piece of gear, because I think that's where most people go to look, is that they actually like are looking on their toon in game, which is kind of a hassle. It's not that easy to find, and if you miss or skip over a piece, then you may not realize it and may not know that you're missing stuff. So this is very, very helpful. Also here too, you can look up your AAs. So, and it gives you all your tabs, all your trade skill ones, your class ones. So if you wanted to fiddle with your AAs and kind of wanted to look at what's available, and again, if you scroll over them, it'll tell you what it is. And you can kind of do this and figure out ahead of time what things you want to get, what things you might want to get rid of, just by going to this website. And of course here, if you can look up your own, you can look up other players, you can look up other players' AA specs as well. So it's not really good form just to flat out copy someone's AA specs unless you have permission and they're okay with it. And I wouldn't recommend doing it blindly either, is you never know why someone specs the way they do. So they could be a really great player, but they could spec with the expectation that they always play with these same people, that they always play with the same person, or that this is their raid spec, and they know that they're going to have this group that, power feeds them, that heals them, that does all these extra buffs for them so that they don't need the spec for those things. But what you can do is, if you have questions about AAs, is that you can ask around and figure out who are the best players of this class. And don't just look at one, because like I said, you never know what things they're specking in mind with. But look at like 3 or 4 of them and look at the stuff that they have in common. What are the things that most people tend to spec for with this particular class? And if they're all in agreement, chances are those are probably good things to spec for. Okay, so you get your AAs tab, you can look at your Shadow Knight, your Free Bloods. Again, these are all things that you can get at from your AA tab in game. You can also pull up your spells. So this is going to show the highest tier level spell of every spell that you have. Okay, so some of these, maybe the highest level spell you got for some of these were at level 25 or 34 or 44, and they never got upgraded after that. But it goes through everything all the way up to 110, and these are just your class spells on this tab. But it also tells you what level you have them, what tier they are at. So is it Grandmaster? Do you have everything Grandmastered that you can? Or do you have some of these like lower level spells still at Apprentice or Expert or Adept? So a lot of the lower level stuff you can go back and farm. You might even have in your guild depot already, just sitting waiting for you. Or if you were to look it up in your upgrades in your knowledge book, it might not take that long if they're low level stuff, right? And then again, you can go up to your higher level spells, so stuff that is current, and look to see, okay, is everything minimum up to expert? Okay, do I have everything up to expert? Oh no, I forgot one. Okay, great, I need to go back and make sure I get that leveled. And do I have as many up to Grandmaster as I can or higher? Okay, so, and then after that, you get to tab on Ascension. So, and it takes a second to get there, but this will have all 4 of your Ascension classes. So see, you got Elementalist, and it'll show you, oh, whoops, I'm not up to level 20 on Ascension. I still have a couple to go. Okay, you know, there's Etherealist all the way up, Geomancer, okay, still need a little work there, right? And then Thaumaturgist. So, like, you can look at the class you actually play, and just like you did with your class spells, you can look and say, okay, are these all leveled as high as they can? What tiers do I have them at? What do I need to keep working on? Okay, and you do. It also will show you too that, okay, well, I didn't level this one, but that's because this is an upgrade to that, and that this down here is an upgrade to that. So you can look at, okay, like Blood Contract here. So that was a level 8 spell, but then we got Blood Contract 2 at level 20. So you don't, you can see them all in one place and scroll down to find what the latest one is, and then see, okay, you know, okay, that one's still only expert, that's something that I need to work on, same thing, but these guys are Grandmaster, these guys are Ancients. Okay, so this helps you plan, you know, that we can do research, right? We can upgrade our spells through researching them, or we can buy Master Spellbooks and our Grandmaster Spellbooks or Ancient Spellbooks and upgrade like that. So this kind of helps you plan out what your next move is. Like, what spells do I need to work on, which are okay? What do I need to look for on the broker? So, okay, so that does it for our websites that we can look at as far as resources that are all still really helpful and are for the most part pretty up to date. I do want to talk about a couple of add-ons that EQ2 has that can be very helpful and kind of reduce the stress and frustration with the game that you sometimes have. So first and foremost, let's talk about EQ2 maps. So a lot of the zones in game, especially like the overland zones, all have maps, right? But sometimes you get in a dungeon, especially in the older game, and there is no map. It's just a complete maze. You have no idea where you're going, what you're looking for. Well, EQ2 Maps is the answer to that. Now, if you're one of those people that like the old school gaming and want to be able to discover stuff in yourself, EQ2 Maps may not be for you, but if you've ever been lost down at the bottom of Soul Sect's Eye and you're trying to find Nagafen to get, you know, Speak as a Dragon or something down there like that, then EQ2 Maps is your friend. So absolutely download it. It's free. The other thing I want to talk about that you guys hear about a lot, I'm sure, is ACT. So Advanced Combat Tracker. Okay? Now, what this does is this is something you can download and it will give you your parse. So if you ever wondered, well, how hard did I or how hard did my entire group hit that mob for, right? So we took on this boss, how much damage did I actually do? Or how much damage did a specific spell do? Or how much healing did my merc do? Or that proc that my familiar has, how much did that actually hit for? So all those questions that you wonder about, you know, what is my actual effect? Like, how hard are my spells actually hitting? Has it made a difference since I've upgraded my spells? Has it made a difference since I switched to this merc or this familiar? Did upgrading my gear, what difference did that make? All those questions that you have are answered by ACT. Okay, so, and you can look it up. It'll give you your exact numbers. That also will give you some charts that you can look at. But this is where you really want to use it as the proof for, you know, which is the best merc, which is the best familiar. Don't just look at the stats that it has. There are a lot of things in EQ2 that are broken, and some of them are broken to your benefit. So think about certain classes like warlocks or monks. They have spells, like with monks it's Dragonfire, and if you just read the description of it, you think, okay, well that seems like a pretty okay spell. But if you actually look at the parse through act, you'll see, oh my God, that spell is insanely amazing. You know, look at all the DPS they're doing. How do you know about that? It's because you used act. It's because you actually looked at the proof. So same thing with your mercs, right? Some have really good stats. The proof actually comes from act though about who's the best. Same thing with your familiars. So I've gotten into arguments with people about this, that they say, you know, like, oh, but this familiar has better stats than that one that you told me about. And I go, okay, that's great, and we have better stats, but it's the proc, and if you actually follow the evidence on act, you'll see that this proc hits just way more than it should, and it does so much more damage, and it's probably one of the better abilities, like better than some of the spells that my that my tunes cast. So you know, act is your proof for what works and what doesn't in game. And it's also a really good way to gauge whether changes you're making are working or aren't. Right, and then the last add-on that I want to talk to you guys about is Dark UI. Now, I don't use Dark UI. I don't care for it, but some people like it. Some people think it has certain advantages, and you can kind of look at the pros and cons. But EQ2 interface for the Dark UI Unified is where you want to go to look at that. And to give you some ideas, like I think you can pick and choose certain stuff to use from Dark UI. I don't think you need to use all of these. Like this would be just a horrific mess on your screen if you try to do all of this. But for some people, I think that they like it better, or they like certain pieces of it that help them out. All right, so hopefully that helps you guys, gives you guys a couple resources and places to look and to go when you need help. And of course, I will keep making videos as I think of more and more topics to talk to you guys about. All right, thanks for watching.